Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throne of Seal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
Meanwhile, Caier was in the process of chasing down the enemy's strongest, Bao, and all of this had happened too quickly. Who could have anticipated that Bao would still be able to unleash such a terrifying attack? YuanYuan was well aware of what she was about to face, yet she still positioned herself in front of Ye XiaoLei, determined not to let her companion's efforts go to waste. And her last resort was the life-sharing of the soul link. As for whether her body could withstand this strike, it was no longer within her calculations. What did it matter if she died in battle? This girl with the personality of a boy had never known fear. Just at that moment, a tall figure suddenly blocked out all the light, standing in front of YuanYuan. What YuanYuan saw was only a broad shoulder. It was him. YuanYuan was momentarily stunned, and in the next moment, the sturdy body in front of her had already violently collided, crashing into her shield of giant god. Blood also burst into the air. Yes, the one blocking in front of YuanYuan was none other than Zhang Fangfang. The shield in his hand had already completely shattered. And along with it, his hands holding the shield were shattered as well. You could clearly see the white bone fragments, as there were 10 pieces severed, and the broken bones were connected to the skin by just a bit. Furthermore, both of his arms had gone limp and hung down. Both of his arms had gone limp and hung down as well. Even the chest plate on his chest had shards of broken shields embedded in it. The blood was spurting from his hands and chest. The brilliant golden light rapidly faded, and Zhang Fangfang collapsed on top of YuanYuan, and his pupils were almost instantly dilating. YuanYuan was in a daze. She was truly stunned at this moment. She wasn't afraid of death, but being saved so directly by someone was a first for her. The moment when Zhang Fangfang shielded her, she distinctly saw the transparency of gold on his left hand that held the shield. It was the radiant body, a power that was already close to the 7th rank. But even so, he bore the impact of that strike so brutally. What if that purple-black orb had hit her shield of giant god instead? Just at that moment, an immensely majestic aura appeared in the dream paradise. And this time, the sky truly darkened. However, it only dimmed for an instant, and then a strong green light suddenly erupted from the earth, colliding fiercely with the black light. In the void, a rift appeared suddenly, and a powerful sucking force emerged instantly, pulling Bao, who had been severely injured, and a few remaining demons into the rift, making them disappear. Nature goddess, I will return. I will claim your divine essence. The gentle yet commanding voice filled with an authority that seemed to command the heavens and the earth. As for this voice, the members of the Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad were all familiar with it, because it was the voice of the Demon God Emperor himself, who had somehow torn open the barriers of Dream Paradise, rescuing Bao and the others. It seemed that the inspiration of this voice had caused the green light within Dream Paradise to suddenly intensify, and the black rift vanished in an instant, wiping away all traces of darkness in the space. Only 7 or 8 clusters of white light floated in the air. These were the spirit furnaces left behind by the demons who had died, floating in the air amidst the roars of the beasts. All the impurities seemed to have disappeared with the departure of darkness, and the magical beasts gradually calmed down amid a series of angry roars, grieving as they looked at the bodies of their comrades. The rising green light gradually dimmed as slowly returning to its original state. Han Yu, Lin Xin, quickly help him! YuanYuan's anxious cry shattered the brief calmness. Han Yu and Lin Xin quickly turned to look, and seeing Zhang Fangfang's gruesome condition, they couldn't help but gasp. Zhang Fangfang was not unconscious, but his face was as pale as gold. He was lying in YuanYuan's arms, and he managed a weak smile, saying, "It's okay, I'm not dead yet." He said it with a casual tone, but the twitching of his mouth and the spasms in his body betrayed him. Lin Xin quickly stuffed 2 pills into his mouth, while Han Yu gathered what little healing magic he had just recovered and applied it to Zhang Fangfang, temporarily stabilizing his injuries. However, the 2 of them did not stay. And with regret, they nodded at Zhang Fangfang, then quickly returned to Long HaoChen's side. Yes, they both noticed that something was amiss with Long HaoChen. The battle had already come to an end. The sword strike that shook the heavens truly cut off Long HaoChen from the delusion of Bao taking Ye XiaoLei away, but at this moment, he seemed lost. He simply stood there, his gaze seemed vacant, with ethereal eyes gazing into the distance. His whole body frozen in the posture of that one mighty swing, like a statue standing atop a hill. No one dared to touch him, for fear that he might shatter into the air like the fragmented blue rain, light lotus. YaTing also floated there dazed, continuously releasing waves of healing magic from her body, which fell onto Long HaoChen. As a light elemental elf, her magic couldn't attack enemies or assist others, but it could directly affect her own master. However, no matter how she healed him, golden light continued to rise from Long HaoChen's body, yet he remained standing there motionless. The only comfort was that the blue and golden points of light that scattered in the air gradually merged back into his body from his chest, indicating that he hadn't truly broken down yet. Caier stood silently in front of Long HaoChen, watching him. Her gaze appeared calm, but upon closer inspection, her usually steady hands were trembling. Who else could care more about Long HaoChen's condition than her? That sword strike, she had witnessed it clearly, like the horns of a deer, shifting constellations. That sword strike had completely transcended the realm where Long HaoChen belonged. It didn't belong to any of Long HaoChen's original abilities. It was a strike born of pure enlightenment. It was a power that Long HaoChen couldn't have unleashed in his normal state. The only explanation was the state he was in at that moment. Pressure, environment, understanding, and the constant stimulation from Bao rushing forward. All these factors combined, along with the assistance of the light elemental elf YaTing emerging with the entire dream paradise, resulted in that seemingly calm, yet earth-shattering sword strike. However, no one knew the price Long HaoChen would have to pay for unleashing that sword strike. This world was fair. When you gained something, you were destined to lose something. For example, professionals gained immense power, but they lost the time to enjoy a normal life. Caier, what should we do? Chen asked anxiously. Caier took a deep breath, trying to calm her emotions as much as possible. Don't worry. Everyone, let's each recover our spiritual power first. Han Yu, you continue treating Zhang Fangfang. As for HaoChen, none of us can touch him right now, we can only wait. Sima Xian said impatiently. But how long do we have to wait? Caier gave him a cold glance. Do you think I'm not anxious? This is dream paradise, so we naturally have to wait for Ye XiaoLei to wake up. We fought for her, she's the one most familiar with this place. Sima Xian paused for a moment then nodded without saying anything more. If Long HaoChen was the one who earned the trust of his comrades, then Caier was the one who commanded authority. While everyone admired Long HaoChen the most, they were most afraid of Caier. Although Caier's words were somewhat scolding, Sima Xian felt that it was only natural. Back when they were on the Cave of Fearful Wailing mission, during the time when Long HaoChen was absent, Caier risked her life to save everyone, pushing herself to the limits, and for that she lost her senses for a full 7 months. Her position as vice captain was well deserved, and as such, in the team, the trust they had in her might not be as deep as with Long HaoChen, but when it came to authority, she was in no way inferior to him. Whenever Long HaoChen couldn't lead the team, she would smoothly take over the command. The roars of the magical beasts gradually subsided, and they all crawled in the direction of the mountaintop, not a single one trying to approach. Their gazes towards Long HaoChen, Caier, and the others were surprisingly gentle. It was evident that they had completely accepted them. Gradually, a strange pale green light surrounded the 7 or 8 groups of spirit furnace as they floated up gently, only coming to a halt when they reached the mountaintop. No one attempted to absorb these spirit furnace. Instead, they all sat down quietly, seeing their comrades not coveting these treasures of the world. Caier's gaze softened. These were truly trustworthy comrades. Her gaze instinctively turned toward Sima Xian, whom she had scolded earlier. Shima, huh? Sima Xian looked at her in confusion. Caier said, I'm in a bad mood, don't mind me. Sima Xian was momentarily stunned, and the others couldn't help but look at Caier with strange expressions, creating an oddly tense atmosphere. Caier turned her head away, focusing her gaze back on Long HaoChen. Sima Xian immediately turned to Lin Xin and whispered, Did I hear correctly? Did the vice captain just apologize to me? Lin Xin gave him a scornful look and said, Look at how petty you are. I think it's better for the vice captain to scold you. Yeah, that way I feel more comfortable. Surprisingly, Sima Xian didn't argue with Lin Xin's words, but instead nodded vigorously in agreement. Dream paradise gradually returned to normal, and strangely, the corpses of the magical beasts gradually merged into the earth, and the once heavy scent of blood was gradually cleansed by the fresh air. Time passed by second, Long HaoChen remained unchanged, showing no signs of change. The orange light on Ye XiaoLei gradually faded away, and finally, with a gentle sound, the last layer of wavering light dispersed, turning into specks of light that dissipated into the air. Due to Long HaoChen's condition, no one could truly focus on their training, and when Ye XiaoLei broke the seal of the great prophecy, everyone immediately stood up. Of course, Zhang Fangfang was an exception. Under Han Yu's treatment and the effect of Lin Xin's elixirs, his injuries had stabilized to some extent, but he still appeared very weak, especially the injuries to his fingers and arms. The loss of limbs was a severe injury, something even high-level priests couldn't fully heal. It required medical intervention to address. Han Yu could only use light magic to keep his severed limbs from necrotizing, preventing them from decaying. At this moment, he was unconscious in YuanYuan's arms. YuanYuan's lips remained tightly pursed, her heart in turmoil. In her mind, the scene of Zhang Fangfang courageously shielding her played over and over again, and his calm expression even after suffering such severe injuries. His arms were so severely damaged, a fatal blow for a knight, yet he could still comfort others. Ye XiaoLei suddenly leaped up from the ground, without saying a word, and she simultaneously clapped her hands towards Zhang Fangfang and Long HaoChen. Two soft green lights instantly shot out from her palms, landing on both of them. Zhang Fangfang let out a soft grunt, and quickly woke up from his unconscious state. The young and delicate Ye XiaoLei approached him, and her agile little hands began to move rapidly. Her movements were swift, yet exceptionally coordinated, and under the rich green light, his severed limbs were continuously reconnected. What's even more peculiar is, wherever she touched, wounds would rapidly heal, flesh and bones mended, even Zhang Fangfang's severe injuries were healing at an astonishing speed. Lin Xin whispered in amazement from the side. "This is life magic," Shima Xian asked quietly. "What is life magic? Why haven't I heard of it?" Lin Xin explained. "Your brain is filled with muscles. How would you know anything? Life magic is a lost form of magic. It doesn't have any offensive capabilities, but it operates using the power of life. In terms of healing ability, your light element priests are nothing compared to life mages." Shima Xian snorted. "That's quite an insult. I'll have to talk to my teacher about this." Humph. Since that competition day, he had gained Ling Zhao's recognition, and had directly become Ling Zhao's disciple. Although he already had a master, it didn't affect his status in the priest temple. Just like Long HaoChen had more than one teacher, including Ye HaoChen and his father could also be considered his teachers. While they were talking, Ye XiaoLei had already finished treating Zhang Fangfang, and finally sent a green light ball into his chest, then quietly stepped back. Zhang Fangfang had once again fallen into a deep slumber. Long HaoChen was also bathed in a layer of green light. But there was still no change in his condition. He remained in his original state. Ye XiaoLei furrowed her brows slightly, approached him, extended her right index finger, and tapped it on Long HaoChen's chest. Caier's hands had involuntarily clenched, and Long HaoChen's motionless state filled her with a sense of panic, although she had been suppressing it. Finally, Ye XiaoLei lifted the seal, and if she couldn't do it, it would be troublesome. Soft green light glowed at the tip of Ye XiaoLei's finger, but in the next moment, a dense golden light flashed from Long HaoChen's chest, and astonishingly it pushed her finger away. "Ha!" Ye XiaoLei exclaimed, leaning closer. She raised both her hands, trying to remove Long HaoChen's brilliant holy armor. But her stature was just too small, and she couldn't reach. It looked rather comical, a beautifully dressed young girl dangling from Long HaoChen's armor. "Let me help you," Caier quickly offered, and immediately began to remove Long HaoChen's brilliant holy armor. When Ye XiaoLei pulled apart Long HaoChen's clothing, she saw the eternal melody on his chest, and her expression couldn't help but change, and she raised her right hand once more. Her index finger extended, she made a few gestures in the air, but this time, it wasn't just green light. A vibrant green-blue flame danced between her fingers, and she attempted to touch it to the eternal melody. A dense golden light surged once more, forcibly pushing her finger away, and Long HaoChen, who had remained in that posture, trembled as well. Ye XiaoLei's expression turned somewhat unpleasant. She glanced at Caier beside her, and snorted, saying, "The illustrious son of light actually received the inheritance of that person." Concerned for Long HaoChen's safety, Caier unexpectedly explained in a somewhat subdued tone. "He was forced into it at the time." But Ye XiaoLei wasn't convinced. "I only see the facts. So annoying, now I can't leave here." Listening to her words, Caier was somewhat puzzled, but still asked, "How is HaoChen doing?" Ye XiaoLei replied, "He's fine, he just used an ability beyond his limits. But you should envy his current state. It's a deep understanding, unrelated to his own attributes, although there's a danger of his body breaking down. But with my life force infusion, he's fine now. Just let him be. Like this, if I'm not mistaken, he's likely about to awaken." "Awaken?" Caier looked at Ye XiaoLei in astonishment. "What do you mean by awaken?" Ye XiaoLei chuckled and said, "I can tell you. But first, take off your veil and let me see. Let's see who's prettier." Caier was taken aback, and didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but from Ye XiaoLei's tone, she understood that it was a good thing that Long HaoChen was in his current state. Nevertheless, she lowered her veil, as she had no idea about awakening, and this information was obviously important for Long HaoChen. Looking at Caier's exquisite beauty, Ye XiaoLei paused for a moment, feeling a bit regretful. She said, "I hate it. I just can't grow up, otherwise I wouldn't lose to you." Clearly, she felt she couldn't compare to Caier. Seeing her charming and cute appearance, Caier couldn't help but gently pat her head. "Why can't you grow up then?" Ye XiaoLei's expression changed slightly. "I won't tell you, it's a secret. But I promise, none of you know about awakening, and having such great talent is a waste. You and him, aren't you both God's favorite children? Without awakening, how can you fully utilize the abilities granted by God's favor?" God's favored children? This was undoubtedly another new term. If Long HaoChen could hear right now, he would surely remember the term God's favored children from Illisek's message in the Tower of Eternity. "Are you saying that if one's innate spiritual power is above 90, they are considered God's favored children?" Caier asked with curiosity. This wasn't just about Long HaoChen anymore, it also concerned herself. Ye XiaoLei looked a bit puzzled and said, I don't know about innate spiritual power, but I can sense it, and both you and him are God's favored children. Maybe the terminology is different. God's favored children, as the name suggests, have received God's favor, and it's the best talent that humans can obtain. However, God's favored children must awaken to fully unleash their abilities. For example, if he had decided on his own talent earlier, he might not have had any trouble against that guy earlier. But those vile and filthy dark creatures are disgusting, and there's even another one that can temporarily tear open space here. Mentioning the demon god emperor, she couldn't help but reveal a hint of fear in her eyes. Caier said, That's the demon god emperor of the demon race. If HaoChen and I awaken, what benefits will there be? Ye XiaoLei replied, There are many benefits. After awakening as God's favored children, it means you can tap into the power granted by the God who favors you. Of course, depending on your own strength, the extent of borrowing varies. Oh my, you two are really ignorant. Let me explain in more detail. The origin of the God's favored children is said to be chosen inheritors by the gods. If you cultivate it to the utmost, you will become beings akin to gods. Gods? Are there really gods? Caier muttered. Ye XiaoLei stuck out her tongue and said, Of course there are. However, becoming a god isn't necessarily a good thing. When you become a god, you are in harmony with the heavens and the earth. You completely merge with the element you govern. It's not as good as being human. While gods seem to control everything and rule over all, they are not exempt from the rules. Otherwise, their divinity would disperse. Your human lives are much freer and more colorful. So, you can say gods exist, or you can say they don't. Of course, there are also some who try to avoid it, not allowing themselves to fully become gods, remaining in a half-god state. They enjoy a carefree life in the mortal world. However, these half-gods are still oppressed by the gods. Sooner or later they will become gods. Oh my. I'm confusing myself now. Anyway, I'll tell you. Becoming a god is not a good thing. As God's favored children, it's better if you don't become too powerful. Otherwise, once divinity descends, all that's left is endless loneliness and solitude. You'll also be bound by powerful rules. In simple terms, every element around you is actually a part of a god. Our world is built from various gods merging together. Truly becoming a god might even mean losing your original memories. Caier asked. Earlier, when the demon god emperor tore open Dream Paradise to rescue those demons, he mentioned divinity, and you mentioned divinity too. He seems very eager to obtain divinity. Why do you say becoming a god is not good? There was a clear hint of fear in Ye XiaoLei's eyes. That guy is different. His aura clearly doesn't belong to our world, and he's not bound by the rules of our world. But he can't obtain the descent of divinity in our world either. If he were to truly obtain divinity and merge with it, and further enhance his power, he might truly become the eternal ruler of this world. No one would be able to restrain him. At this point, Ye XiaoLei's gaze suddenly turned deep and mysterious. She glanced at Caier, and then at Long HaoChen beside her. She furrowed her brows, as if contemplating something. Caier could tell that this young girl seemed to be keeping something important to herself, but for her, whether it's gods or divinity, they are still distant matters. Isn't divinity supposed to belong only to the gods? Why would there be divinity that he can seize? Caier asked in confusion. Ye XiaoLei suddenly became a bit agitated. There are some special circumstances. Alright, stop asking. I've told you everything you need to know. Anyway, it's best for you not to become gods in the future. As for that guy, he's just delusional, thinking it's easy to seize divinity. At worst, At this point, she suddenly stopped speaking, cast a cautious glance at Caier, and fell silent. Caier, however, was not willing to give up and pursued, asking, What is the boundary for becoming a god? Ye XiaoLei glanced at her but didn't answer this time. This time, however, she didn't respond. Caier suddenly smiled faintly and said, Actually, I do know. Ye XiaoLei snorted disdainfully and said, With your current strength, how could you possibly know? 1,000,000 spiritual energy, right? Caier said with a smile. Ye XiaoLei looked at her in surprise. Her expression had already revealed her thoughts. Surprisingly, Caier didn't ask any more questions, and instead went straight to Long HaoChen's side and sat down cross-legged. She closed her eyes and began to meditate. Since Long HaoChen was fine, she felt at ease. The others had been listening to the conversation between Caier and Ye XiaoLei, and their expressions had changed accordingly. However, this state only lasted for a very short time. After all, the distance between them and the gods was still too vast. Time in Dream Paradise gradually passed, and Ye XiaoLei, seeming somewhat bored, sat on the side. 8 spirit furnaces revolved silently around her body, as if obeying her command. She didn't indicate that the members of Commander Level Number 21 Demon Hunting Squad should absorb these spirit furnaces, nor did she retrieve these spirit furnaces. No one knew what she was thinking at the moment. However, it was clear from her occasional glances at Long HaoChen that she was thinking about something related to him. A day's time passed in this manner. Finally, when the first light of dawn on the third day appeared on the distant horizon, changes occurred in Long HaoChen's body. the dawn's light, filled with a sense of rebirth. As that gentle light gradually appeared, Long HaoChen's body also brightened, as if he were another sun rising slowly. The pair of dazzlingly bright spiritual wings on his back quietly unfolded. The gentle wings extended slightly, appearing to be larger than before. The dawn's light also strangely gathered around him, only falling upon him alone. Both Dream Paradise and the others suddenly felt the previously lit sky darken. With only that straight beam of golden light connecting Long HaoChen and the slowly rising Sunday, Ye XiaoLei seemed to sit weightlessly on a branch, and her eyes also shone brightly because of the strange changes happening on Long HaoChen. That's right, he has truly awakened. He has truly awakened. Bathed in the golden light, Long HaoChen's slashing movements gradually ceased. He stood upright, arms outstretched to his sides, bathed in the increasingly bright golden sunlight. His entire being was rendered in gold. A golden aura spread around him, gradually forming concentric golden ripples rippling outward from his body. Shima Xian and Han Yu naturally sat down about 10 meters away from Long HaoChen, and golden patterns appeared on their foreheads as well, clearly influenced by the covenant of submission. And it was definitely a good thing. The wings on their backs quickly unfurled. Bathed in the faint golden halo radiating from Long HaoChen, they soon entered a state of meditation. Zhang Fangfang's body had mostly recovered, but she was still a bit weak. With YuanYuan's assistance, she looked at the three of them enviously, and slowly closed her eyes, sensing the changes in the elemental light in the air. At this moment, he felt as if his body was immersed in an ocean of light, surrounded by endless and gentle elemental light washing over his body, a sensation of beauty he had never experienced before, and insights flowed into his mind. A transparent golden light gradually emanated from his body. He hurriedly sat down cross-legged on the ground, and a pair of wings much larger than Shima Xian and Han Yu's unfolded on his back. 9 light patterns gradually appeared on Long HaoChen's forehead, starting as purple, but quickly turning into gold. His skin seemed to be covered with a layer of gold foil, and even his features became unclear. The sunlight became stronger and stronger, and the golden light on Long HaoChen's body became increasingly intense. Under his feet, a diverging golden halo gradually formed. This halo was quite special, with dazzling golden light, and the patterns on the edges resembled spreading sunlight. It was a deep gold color, with colorful patterns, and at the center where Long HaoChen stood, the golden light was brilliant. A phantom golden light gradually appeared above his head, and the figure looked somewhat similar to the light elemental elf, YaTing, but it was very ethereal, and not clearly visible. It was about 3 meters in height, with a gentle golden aura emanating from its body, descending slowly, gradually merging with Long HaoChen. A low chant came from YaTing's mouth. Since Long HaoChen entered the awakened state, she had been floating in the air, and just now, when Long HaoChen officially began the awakening ceremony, her face was already full of joy. As she watched the golden light merge into Long HaoChen's body, YaTing's body also began to change. Drop by drop, golden liquid separated from Long HaoChen and merged into YaTing's body. Her entire body seemed to have been reshaped, with no change in size, but it had completely lost its previous ethereal quality. Furthermore, in YaTing's right hand, there was a small and elegant golden staff. The staff's design was simple, with a straight handle of a similar height to YaTing, and a diamond-shaped golden gem at the top shimmering brightly. In addition, there was also a golden gem in the center of YaTing's forehead. There was also a small halo beneath her feet, identical to the golden halo under Long HaoChen's feet. But these weren't her biggest changes. On her body, the most significant change was her aura. Originally, she only had an elemental aura, but at this moment, she was emitting a rich life aura. She was no longer an intelligent light elemental elf, but a real elf, a light elemental elf. From this moment on, she was no longer just Long HaoChen's auxiliary spirit furnace, but a being capable of directly attacking enemies, boosting teammates, and possessing a life of her own as a spirit. Of course, she was still Long HaoChen's covenant spirit furnace. That wouldn't change, but if she left Long HaoChen and lost the protection of the Son of Light, then she would probably return to her original form. Suddenly, a long chant rang out from Long HaoChen's mouth. YaTing also lifted her head, emitting a murmuring moan from her mouth. Then, a strange scene unfolded. It first appeared on YaTing. Under her original 2 pairs of wings, another pair of wings emerged, and delicate new wings gradually unfolded, and her overall aura underwent a profound transformation. Her stature grew a few inches taller, reaching nearly a meter in height.